No one expected this thrilling showdown in Nashville, with the Canucks pulling off a wild overtime win versus the Predators and having their biggest players step up in the process when it mattered most tonight. But it wasn't without a few things to clean up. We're going to break it down all that in this episode of Canucks Digest. But first, if you're not a part of the 40% of viewers who are already subscribed to the channel and you want to stay up to date on all things Canucks, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the episodes when they drop. And with that, let's hop straight into it, which is the Canucks' wild overtime win. So you guys were probably watching the game tonight, as the Canucks had a bit of an earlier game tonight, playing at Nashville against the Nashville Predators to end their current road trip, where they were able to get a thrilling overtime win at the very end of overtime with only 1 second left on the clock, scored by none other than Brock Boeser, which we'll hop into in a second. But now the Vancouver Canucks get back to 500 at a 7-7 record, and still staying undefeated in extra periods, where they were able to get their second overtime win of the season, along with their other two shootout wins that they have this season. But then when you look at the scoring as well, we had Evander Kane getting his first goal as a Vancouver Canuck, and his first of the season on the power play, with Filip Hronek and Arshdean Bains getting in on the assist. Then Jake DeBrusk getting up another power play goal in the second period, assisted by Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson of all people. And then Brock Boeser getting a goal of his own as well, with Tom Willander getting his first NHL point for the Vancouver Canucks as well, assisted by DPD as well. This Abbotsford Canucks players really kind of been stepping up over the past couple of games. Then Evander Kane getting his second goal of the night, and of course his second goal as the Vancouver Canuck in the third period. And then Brock Boeser getting the game winner. Of course, it was going to be beauty Brock Boeser, who, like I've been saying, where if you need a game-winning goal, you need a rally started, you need a clutch goal, Brock Boeser is your guy, and he was that guy tonight. And it was a shade of what he did in the postseason against the Nashville Predators 2 seasons ago, where he had that hat trick and led us to a perfect playoff victory that was absolutely thrilling to watch. And this game was no different, where the Canucks were able to finally come out on top in a game where a lot of Canucks fans were getting very worried, because it was once again another game where the Canucks had a 2-goal lead. They were up 4-2, and they choked it away to the point where it was tied. Nashville was able to get back into the game, even though Vancouver was all over them in the third period. They still were able to get it to overtime, and it got even more intense and stressful for all the Vancouver fans out there, because I know your guys' blood pressure is high, just like mine was. But when you look at the game stats as well, Vancouver had one of their most offensive games of the entire season, getting 36 shots on goal compared to 29 from Nashville. Thatcher Demko was pretty solid between the pipes. For the most part, there was a lot of shakiness there as well on some of the goals, but some of them were just hard one-timers as well. But in the face-off circle is where Vancouver really had a hard time tonight, where they only went 30 of 67, but the power play kind of made up for it, where we finally had maybe the second game this season where Vancouver was really kind of able to get the power play clicking. They did give up 2 power play goals, however, so that was still a very big point of concern for Vancouver, is stop giving up those friggin' power play goals. They have been killing us all season. Thankfully, we have been able to get our own power play goals, but those penalty kills, we got to really start capitalizing on those. I don't know where the penalty kill from last season has gone, but it feels like it's completely gone from this team, and they need to go and find it something before they go into this homestand in the next couple of days, where they have some pretty tough games coming up, the first of which being against the Chicago Blackhawks. So they're going to have to find that penalty killing identity, because it seems like this team will not be able to stay out of the box, whether it's Evander Kane. Kiefer Sherwood took a penalty as well tonight, but there has been some very recurring themes, it seems like, as far as penalties go for Vancouver this season, whether it's not having the penalty killing efficiency that they've had from the last season, or some of the power play woes that have continued from last season and the season before that into this season. However, tonight was an exception. They were able to go 2 out of 3 on the power play, so that was really awesome to see. And they kept it a fairly physical game as well, getting 20 plus hits. So it was nice to see they were able to throw the body a little bit more than they did the past couple of games. And they had 22 block shots. And that is, I think, what a big difference maker was in this game, is that with the shot attempts and the shots on goal that Nashville was able to get, for Vancouver to have 22 block shots was pretty awesome, even though the giveaways were pretty bad on the other side of things, where there was the first goal early on was a result of a really bad giveaway and some interceptions that were happening in the offensive zone that Vancouver just could not have. So they really got to start cleaning up those giveaways, because that has been something that has been really kind of detrimental when you look at the game stat sheet at the end of every game, is that they are giving the puck away a lot to these other teams where, yeah, these teams are playing good defensively, but they have to do something to figure it out as far as just controlling the puck a little bit more and not having those giveaways. But the shots on goal, like I said, they were able to get a lot of offense going tonight where they came out firing on all cylinders with 12 shots in the first period, 14 in the second period, so even more offensively. And then in the third period, they weren't able to get more shots than Nashville did, but Nashville was playing from behind, so they were playing hungrier. Vancouver's kind of playing keep away, only 2 shots in overtime, where Vancouver was playing very conservative and really playing keep away in overtime, where they were just making sure that Nashville was not going to touch the puck because they didn't want to have to get it into their hands. And they also trusted Demko if the game went to a shootout, as well as some of their shooters. However, when the game was really on the line, when they took that timeout, that was everything with that timeout that Adam Foote called. So really good calling there and really good coaching and making sure that this team had a chance to win. And then Brock Boeser, of all people, gets in the perfect position from a beautiful Elias Pettersson chop pass that just fit right between the skate and the stick over to Brock and just really hammered it home for a perfect clutch game-winning goal. His 4th career overtime game-winning goal, which was really awesome to see him do it again, do another game-winning goal again in Bridgestone Arena, where he did that just 2 seasons ago, where he had that hat trick. So really awesome to see that there. And when you look at the lineup tonight, there was some standouts and there were some lines that really got to pick it up a bit more. That Abbotsford line of Sasson, Baines, and Carlson has really played well tonight. And these Abbotsford players, like I said earlier in the video, have really kind of stepped up. McEachran, I've really liked what I've seen from him in the first 2 games that he's played. Sasson as well has had a decent start to his season. Arshdeep Baines has been really getting involved and getting his hands dirty, getting a lot of shots on net, getting some assists. He works really well with Evander Kane. And that was a thing that I really liked with the game tonight, was seeing the power play unit and seeing those Abbotsford guys really step up. Where that first goal happened for Evander Kane, where you had Filip Hronek and Arshdeep Baines on the assist, but you also had Abbotsford players on that penalty kill power play as well. So seeing these Abbotsford guys step up has been a really nice thing to see, where last season it was a bit of up and down, but we still had a lot of call-ups. With this year, it started off a little inconsistent, but it seems like these Abbotsford guys in this Vancouver roster is really kind of starting to find their footing a little bit more as we've kind of gone over these last couple of games. I know the 5-3 record over the last 8 games will kind of speak against what I'm saying. However, with some of these games, except for the Minnesota game, I think overall Vancouver has been playing a lot more competitive hockey than they did last season, where, yeah, it was very much also an up and down season. But at least in those games where it was really close and they weren't able to pull it out, they at least looked competitive or didn't look competitive last season. This season, they have looked competitive in those games, except for the Minnesota game. That was kind of an outlier, but in their losses this season, they have been staying and fighting until the very end, which is something that we didn't see as much of last season. So yeah, it's been a bit of a rocky start. We still are sitting at 500, so we're still not a great team yet, but we're not a bad team. So we're still kind of sitting in that middle of the road, and that's going to be the thing with this Vancouver Canucks season. We can't let the highs get too high, and we can't let the lows get too low. We just got to kind of ride this out and hope that we can stay more than just a 500 team before we go into the midpoint of the season, so that we can kind of ride that momentum heading into the end of the season, fighting for a playoff spot, rather than having early season success and letting it just fizzle out like it has the past couple of years. But let us know what you guys thought on the game down below. What did you guys think of this lineup? Is there anything that you would want to change moving forward into the next game against Chicago, or would you just keep it the same way that it was? And what did you think overall about the game? Were you pumped about the multi-point game that we had for many different players? Evander Kane getting 2 goals of his own, Brock Boeser getting 2 goals and an assist as well, Petey getting an assist. So all of our top guys really kind of stepping up when we needed them to, and that was a big thing that was going into this game, was that Vancouver's top guys hadn't really been stepping up. And I said to somebody before the game that I was talking to, where they were trying to get some predictions for the game, and I said that it could be a very offensive game just because Nashville has been really struggling defensively the past couple of games, and they've been giving up a lot of goals. Vancouver, they've been needing a bounce back game for these big name guys for them. Evander Kane, Brock Boeser, and so many other ones. Kiefer Sherwood didn't have a point game tonight. He has gone on a bit of a cold streak now after having that huge hot streak a few nights ago. But now it seems like some of these bigger guys are starting to really step up. Petey stepped up. Brock Boeser stepped up. Evander Kane stepped up. Quinn Hughes was finally back. Tom Willander finally stepped up and got his first NHL point. So these guys are starting to get their hands dirty. We're starting to see a little bit more progress from the Vancouver Canucks. Now it's just a matter of seeing it just play out on a more consistent manner on a night-to-night basis or a game-to-game basis, where Vancouver can start rattling off more than just one-off wins or just winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one. Let's start rattling off some 3-game heaters. Let's go on a 4-game run here. Maybe let's rattle off a 5-game run at some point here in the first half of the season. But let us know your guys' thoughts on the game down below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.